Hi, everyone. So, welcome to the How to Live Your Best One Life podcast. As you know, my name is Holly. I'm the founder of One Life Health and Fitness. And today I'm with my gorgeous client and friend, Alex Brown. And Alex Brown is an author. She's an incredible lady that I've been working with for over 2 years now, which is insane. But the reason I want to talk to Alex today and bring her conversation and story forward is because it is incredibly inspiring. And I think it's really fair to say, Alex, that there'll be a lot of women who are sat there thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I'm really skeptical, which is where you were 2 years ago. And you really have transformed your life. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so lovely to see you. Obviously, we've just kind of you've just started flying the One Life nest. So it's really lovely to kind of reconnect and almost take some time today to just reflect on everything and go back to the start. And I think that's probably a really good place to start. Just before we do that, we've just had a conversation, haven't we, just before we went on here, and actually you are almost at the point where you've lost 6 stone, 1 pound away, but you will get there very soon.
1 pound to go, so I'm to do that
1 pound to go
or next.
It's coming, but I mean, just an incredible amount, and of course that is huge. But on the other side of it, we were talking about actually the empowerment you now have, the confidence you have in your body, the strength that you've built in your training, your mindset, your relationship with food, and just so many other things that I cannot wait to touch on today. So why don't you start by telling us about 2 and a bit years ago when we first had that conversation and where you were at and how you were kind of feeling?
So it was just before Christmas. So I was full of the new year. What am I going to do this year? It's going to be different. I'd spent most of my adult life kind of trapped in that cycle of dieting, yo-yo dieting, trying to exercise, trying to do this, trying to make all these differences, and it not really working, having a little bit of success, but then hitting a wall and becoming demotivated, something wrong with me, this, all that voice in my head that I know lots of my friends have as well. And I'd also had, in my early 20s, I had a thyroidectomy, which was a huge turning point for me in my life. And but it was also such a frustration, and also an excuse in some ways. And I use that word carefully because for years I was told, because I had the thyroidectomy and then I became hypothyroid, so I had underactive thyroid. I take 2 lots of thyroid medication to try and counteract that imbalance, and I saw many consultants over the years, and the message always, it's harder to lose weight because I had this thyroid illness. I was originally diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune condition. So I had this constant kind of conflict of wanting to get my old self back. Before I had the thyroidectomy, I was very active, ate whatever I wanted, didn't even think about my weight. I was just an active, healthy weight person. And that all changed. And then that's when my battle with energy levels, feeling like strength, weight gain, and it just sort of became, that was my life. That went on for years. And so I just, this constant move into like different diets. This time it's going to work. I try this, try that, get all excited and everything. And I'd lose about 1 stone, hit a wall, and I was kind of at quite a low point. And I think I'd been stalking you on Instagram for a while. And
Everyone loves stalking me for a good 6 months
yeah,
before.
it was because it was inspiring to to see what you were posting about and what the success that other women had had, and I wanted that, but I didn't actually, if I'm honest, I didn't feel confident to even make that initial contact.
Yeah,
It took me a
yeah,
while to do that, and
yeah.
yeah, and when I did, I was so pleased and relieved. It felt like a relief. And then we decided that I would start in January, which seemed like a really good time. New year, and I had
New year,
decided that
new you.
new me, yeah, as the cliche goes. But it was more that I had already decided that was going to be my year of health. Um,
Yeah,
and it wasn't just about losing weight, it was about feeling healthy. I'm just so fed up of not feeling well. I was perimenopause, although I didn't really know that at the time,
yeah,
which I think is the case for a lot of women. We put various, looking back now, menopausal symptoms down to all kinds of other things.
yeah,
And so that was kind of how I was at the start. It was my year of health. I was literally sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
yeah,
And
yeah,
needed to change.
yeah,
I just wanted to get my life back.
yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, that's where I was at the start.
Yeah. And that's such a powerful thing to say, just so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's actually a Shakira song, but I love it. And it's true because so many women that I speak to are, by the time that they speak to me, are drained. They have tried so many things. They've done the new fads. They've got new recipe books. They've said, right, this is the last time I'm going to do it this time. And actually there's the resilience for losing weight and the resilience around, like, your motivation is just on the floor. So when you come to finally get to the point of thinking, right, I need some, more individualized help and need a coach, of course, at that point, feeling pretty skeptical. And I remember you saying that to me on the call, and you sort of said, well, I don't really know 100% if this is going to work for me.
Yeah.
And I knew at that point, I have that conversation quite a lot, and that for me is like a nice extra little challenge, really, to prove that, of course, we can. But for me, you throwing your hat in the ring and saying, nope, do you know what, I'm going to do this for a year, and I'm going to throw everything at it, was incredible. Taking that huge leap of faith and pushing it, because as you say, your thyroidectomy painted a picture for you for a long period of time in your life. It stopped you playing netball. You also had other injuries and things like that, and so I understand why you felt downbeat about that. And I think a lot of women have these, not quite a thyroidectomy, but like you said, with perimenopause, we have these external things that kind of come in and impact your health and impact your confidence in your body, and they can be a barrier that people really struggle to overcome. So so that's incredible. And of course, look where we are now. But we're talking back to your year of health.
Yeah.
What
So I
did
think I
that?
need to. I've just remembered something quite significant that I need to mention, is because I also experienced. I had a fractured neck of the femur in my hip, and that was really, really debilitating. That happened after the thyroidectomy, a few years after, and then again, that was another kind of, I had to rehabilitate myself with my balance, and again, but the message I always got was, oh, we need to be careful, your balance is, and it's hard when you have all that kind of influence, and we were saying with all the like different diets and different things to start. The diet industry is so influential, and so like and just so I kind of sort of like through my like 20s and 30s, and then even into my 40s, it's that constant, this diet will work, this one or that, try, and when you pare it back, it does always come back, and I resisted this for years, it does always come back to exercise and nutrition.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like an overcomplicated version of something that we know now, just purely for a marketing perspective, or a trend, or diet culture had a huge impact on so many women, and it's something that we've spoken about has had a huge impact on your life as well.
Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
whilst you wanted the year of health, you have been with us for 2 years, but that's it, because I think, did it shock you in any way how sort of long it takes to start to unravel the mindset around that? Because obviously, relationship with food is impacted, even as you say, around your strength training, and the confidence you had to really drive into that. Was that kind of what you were expecting in terms of the shift in mindset for you?
Yes. No, it wasn't what I was expecting. I think the biggest revelation for me was how strength training made me feel strong, not just physically, mentally, and it made me feel confident. It gave me
Yeah.
back a confidence, which I have to say, and I don't want to sound like I'm just bashing the diet industry, but I think the diet industry creates insecurity and a feeling of low self-worth and low
Yeah.
self-esteem.
I'll
And
happily sit here and bash it, Alex.
yeah, I was a fully signed up member to that, this constant like roller coaster of, feeling inadequate because I couldn't lose the weight. And that all kind of shifted once I started doing the strength training. Once I started exercising, I started feeling physically strong and mentally strong, and it went from there. And it's addictive. That's addictive because
Yeah.
that great feeling, that feeling strong, and I'm doing this, and it's working. I'm doing it for myself. I remember the first workout that you set for me to do. I can remember it clearly, like it was yesterday, even though it was like 2 years ago. And I'll be honest, I hated it. I didn't want to do it. I had to gear myself up for it, and I'm there with my little 1.5 kilo dumbbells. Hated it. I didn't want to do it because I felt like, like you were making me do it. I'm being forced to do this. I can't do it. That's too hard for me. I'm not strong. I can't do it. My balance isn't great. All these voices in my head, all these like negative messages sabotaging it and telling me that.
Yeah.
And then I just thought I'll try it. And I did it. I got through the first workout, even though I hated it. I felt very, very sorry for myself. But I did it. And then I did another one. And then I kind of thought, actually, I can do this. And
This is all right.
and a real turning point moment was when I moved up from my little 1.5 kilo dumbbells to 2 kilo. And then, and I remember, I can't remember how many months in we were. And then we talked about moving up to 5 kilos. I thought, I can never do that. I never can be able to do that. And so, of course, it was such a incredible feeling when I could. It just made me feel like how far I've come. And I had that measure because with the One Life app, obviously it's all there, your progress. And so, and then I could see like the heavier weights, I can do more reps. And that's really motivating. And just to see that progress. And
I remember that day so clearly. I remember the day, and you, and I remember the resistance at the start with your workouts, and I was thinking, I'm gonna get her to love these. I am absolutely gonna get her to love these. And I remember you moving up, and you were so excited about moving up to 2s, and I was thinking, right, yeah, this is good because we're slowly building it up, and that's exactly how we should have done it. And I said, Alex, I think you're just going to need to buy some new dumbbells for home because I know that there's more there. We need to work to failure a little bit more. And just to mention as well, Alex, you've done everything from home. So Alex has had home workouts the whole time we've been doing this. Yeah. Yeah. And I said, look, I think that's
really, for Alex and I. Sorry to interrupt. I think that's a really important point, is because If I'd done this in a gym, I wouldn't have gone to the gym. I don't like going to the gym. I hate going to the gym. I can't be bothered to go to the gym. And if I have to like get outdoor clothes on, because bear in mind I'm an author, I spend a lot of my time in kind of what I call indoor clothes, which I wouldn't wear outside the house. And if I've got to like get dressed, get in my car, go to a gym, I've lost interest. I just can't be bothered to do it. I spend most of my time writing. So I got my weights bench in my office. It's over behind me, over there in my office. So literally no excuse. I can go over there, do it, and get back to my desk. So, and that was, once I got my head around that, because for a long time I did feel I'm like, not good enough. I felt guilty. I don't go to the gym. So that took me a while to change that mindset as well, and admit to myself that I don't like going to the gym. I don't want to. So I'll do my workouts at home. So I just think it made it accessible for me to do it.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people think that they have to go to the gym and they have to force themselves to do that, but you don't. It has to fit your lifestyle. And when we were talking about, you were saying, Holly, sometimes I don't leave my desk for hours, what am I meant to do? And it just worked. You having everything in that corner and you getting up, doing that, and and then moving back to your desk. It just worked. It meant that you did it. But it's going back to that morning where luckily you and I lived close together back then.
Oh yeah.
And I said, right, I've got a pair of fives. I'm dropping. I'll leave them outside my door. Here's my address. Come and pick them up.
Yeah.
And then now we've even got 10-kilo dumbbells at home with your bench and kettlebells and good. Yeah.
I'm up to the 10s now. So so 20 kilos squats. And that's easily manageable. I could probably push up more than 12, more than 10. I could go up to, I've got 12s, I think. Sorry, I'm just looking at my bench. And I was so grateful when you said about the 5-kilo dumbbells, because I was being reluctant to get them, thinking, I won't be able to do that. So I'm just getting things popping up on my screen. So so I mentioned it to my husband, and it was actually my husband who said, give me the address, and he went and picked them up.
I love that. I mean, that's it, because we do, like you said, going back to self-sabotage, which I think ties in really nicely with this, is whenever we get used to something and then we want to change it, or we want to build on it, or we want to do something, those self-sabotage thoughts come straight back in for a moment. And the thing that we learn at One Life is how quickly you catch them and throw them back out. I think that's the thing. Even I get moments like that. I still have moments where I think I can't do that. There's no way I'm going to be able to go and do that, whatever. But I catch them very quickly, and then I'm able to get back into what I was doing. So talking about self-sabotage, obviously that's something that women struggle with a lot, lots of women. And it was something that definitely you had at the start. And even talking about those kind of 5-kilo dumbbells and am I going to be able to do this? Yes, no, etc. Your self-sabotage has come on, leaps and bounds. Your mindset has had such a shift since we've been working together. How do you feel that it's changed over time? How would you kind of describe it now compared to then? And how do you manage that, I guess, is the question.
Well, I think I've kind of learned over time to kind of stop it in its tracks. So when I get that kind of negative voice start, because it can be a spiral, and you can go from like thinking one thing to ending up feeling something awful. And so I've got a kind of little strategy which I picked up from listening to like a motivational podcast interview, and I can't remember who it was, but it's just literally I say stop thinking, say it a couple of times, and it's just enough, a couple of seconds, just to stop me, and then reframe my thoughts and get myself back to kind of sort of like my regulated state where I'm I'm feeling confident. And I think to add as well that obviously each week when we did our check-ins, I find that was really motivating and made a difference, and I could listen to it. I listened to it a few times through the week sometimes, because it just it was always so positive and encouraging, and that helps with that kind of negative. That made a huge difference as well.
I think it's sometimes talking about it, isn't it? Because when those things are in your head, and like you say, they go round and round and round, and you think, oh, like, you're kind of just dealing with the overwhelm of that. But sometimes when you just articulate it to somebody, me, or the group, or, your husband, or you're able to have that kind of external perspective in which people can say, oh, well, yeah, you might feel like that, but actually it doesn't quite look like that to me. Or, oh, maybe you should try X, Y, Z. And then that's when you start, it kind of dilutes again, doesn't it? And you start to see those positives. And it's really interesting that you mentioned the kind of negative mindset part as well, because they're two different things, really, self-sabotage and negative mindset. And we are so... often we kind of jump into this negative space when things aren't quite going right, or if you don't lose a pound one week, or if you've had a takeaway and then suddenly the scale weight's like jumped up, and we can sometimes go straight into that, well, I've failed, that failure mindset, negative mindset. That's something that I don't see you do at all anymore, and part of that is due to the fact that you've stopped taking your emotional response and you're really thinking about your logical response. How's that shift been for you?
Yeah, and it's experience as well, because I now have, because we've worked together for 2 years, so I have 2 years of kind of data, if you like, information that if the scales say I've put on 2 pounds or 5 pounds overnight, that is just an anomaly. It's really fluid attention. I trained hard the day before. And I understand now, because you've educated me on how that, how that affects the muscles. And so it's not the end of the world like it used to be. Where I would think, well, that's it. I can't do it. I can't lose weight. I failed again. Put on and I can remember in the early days, like messaging you, but I'm upset. And I was working with Megan at the start, and I'd be messaging saying, I've put on 0.5 pound, and I'd be like devastated. Whereas now it's, but that's only come from that educating and seeing the pattern. And I remember you showing me, obviously anonymized, so like graphs of weight loss journeys. And so it makes you realize that I absolutely was normal. And that, I'm not some kind of freak of nature who's like, exercising, but like nothing's happening or whatever. Because these are the kind of like stories, and I know I'm an author, and I'm like, supposed to like make up stories, but sometimes it can be very counterproductive. You're making up those kind of stories that aren't actually true. So so I think it just comes like from experience and education, and
I think that's important. I think seeing lots of women think that their journey should be linear, and they think they should be, progress is losing weight every single week. But of course, you've seen this whole other side of progress, which is why you don't pinpoint your whole self-worth, your whole progress and your journey on that scale weight now. And that has taken, obviously, a big shift from where you were, as you say, really sort of everything was on that. Am I going to lose a pound this week? And we actually had to do a lot of work to say, right, okay, let's not think about this. Let's weigh every day. And I remember saying, let's get on the scales every day. And you were like, what? No. Don't want to do that. I think I'm going to get a bit obsessed with it. And I was like, no, because we can look at the fluctuations. And hats off to you. The one thing that I've loved about coaching you, and I really have, is that despite all of those feelings and thoughts and how much you hated that workout and didn't want to do things that I told you to do, you still did it. And And you learned a lot from that process actually with the scales, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. I learned, yes, a lot. Yeah, I've learned to detach my my self-worth, my how I feel about my body isn't controlled by those scales. And had given my scales way too much power, way too much. So I'm in charge of them. They're not in charge of me. So um,
That,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
and I think I really want to mention here that we've worked together for 2 years. For the first year or so, I didn't lose any weight at all on the scales, not at
yeah,
all. But what I did notice was I got strong. My body changed. My body completely changed through the strength training, and I do yoga as well. And I noticed a difference in how clothes felt. So the scales may not
yeah,
be saying anything, but I'm wearing smaller jeans, or something that was a bit tight before now feels comfortable.
yeah.
So there's other ways of seeing your progress, and the way my body changed. It
Yeah, for sure.
that's and it's important to take notice of that, because that really made a
Absolutely.
big difference to me.
Well, I mean, that's led me on to my next point, actually, which is that first year of health and everything that we were learning. And I think sometimes people need to really understand that there is a time period of education before implementation sometimes. And that's what's really needed, because genuinely, yes, if everyone wanted a workout, you could go onto YouTube and get a workout. You could go to ChatGPT now. You could get a meal plan. But the reason that they don't work is because of up here and of all the work that you have to do up here first, and that accountability and that support and everything else. That's why coaching is so important. But in your first year of health, that's where we really zoned in on muscle mass, bone density, hormones, everything that really was your day to day, your energy levels, drinking enough water, all of those healthy habits and foundations. And then that led you on to this next chapter of the journey, which we can go on to
Yeah,
and talk about. But that was really where you felt that empowerment to continue moving on, right? And not give up
yeah,
because the scales weren't moving.
yeah, absolutely. The weight loss came after I had built my confidence, sorted my head out, and I felt strong mentally and physically. And that was sort of a year of strength training, yoga, and sorting out my hormones. Because
Yeah.
looking back, as I said earlier about being perimenopause and into menopause. My thyroid levels weren't right. I'd been taking the same. I take 2 lots of thyroid medication, and I've been taking that amount since I'd had the thyroidectomy in my early 20s. And so I went, booked myself an appointment with a thyroid specialist at the thyroid clinic, and that was transformative as well. They did a separate blood test, my doctor there, Ali, and she did a load of blood tests, and it was very obvious I was not taking anywhere near enough of the T3 part of the thyroid hormone. And so we increased that, and then I started feeling energized and positive and motivated, and things were less effort to do things, and that's because my thyroid levels weren't right, and then they were. And then I booked an appointment with Louise Newson Clinic for
Yeah.
to talk about HRT, and again my estrogen levels were too low, and so that was all adjusted, and so it was a journey, and it sounds cheesy. It
Yes.
was a journey, and so I got all my hormone levels right, and checked with specialists, and that made a huge difference to my ability to exercise and for it to actually make a difference.
Also, I mean, while we're talking about all your sort of previous medical history, your thyroidectomy and everything, and obviously we've spoken about the first year of building up your strength training, focusing on your nutrition, doing all of that education. I think it's important to say we got to a point where the consultant that you were working with also sort of said actually it would be a recommendation due to your thyroid to potentially start on a low dosage of Mounjaro to kind of work alongside everything that you are currently doing in terms of, you know, eating high protein and your fiber and your strength training, etc. Talk me through how, I guess, the holistic approach has been quite useful for you.
Yeah. So so I think we were about a year into my One Life journey. So it was about a year in. I'd got myself physically strong. I'd sorted out, got all my hormones balanced, so I was on the correct amount of thyroid medication and HRT, and the endocrinologist consultant that I was who was reviewing all of that for me, said that she had with other patients who'd had thyroidectomies, because obviously it's part of the endocrine system, and Mounjaro was obviously developed for diabetics, which obviously is an endocrine condition as well. And she had seen significant success with thyroid patients who'd had thyroidectomies, because of the difficulty with I was exercising 3 times a week, my nutrition was great, my hormones were balanced, but we still weren't seeing the kind of weight loss that you would expect at that stage. And I was also I've always experienced hypoglycemia, so kind of imbalance of blood sugar levels, and which my thyroid doctor thinks is linked to the Graves' disease, the thyroid illness. So we decided to start on a low dose of Mounjaro, and it felt to me like my body was working efficiently. The hypoglycemia went, as you would expect, because it's a diabetic medication to manage blood sugar, and it felt like my body, my metabolism, my blood sugar levels were working properly, and I stayed on the low dose for the entirety of that time. I think at one point I went up to 5 milligrams, but never more than that. I didn't need to, because I started losing weight steady, sort of like half a kilo a week, or sometimes a kilo a week, just steady, 1 to 2 pounds. But interestingly, I don't know if that would have been as successful for me if I wasn't already in a routine of exercising regularly and had sorted out my nutrition. That made the difference. I think it was a culmination of everything coming together, and and that worked for me. And and I just stayed on the low dose throughout.
You did, which has been great. I think that's the thing. Sorry, Alex. I hear from a lot of women who don't have medical challenges, right, that they go onto it. They have some success, but it's rarely, it rarely happens, and it isn't sustainable. And the main reason being is that they don't have any lifestyle changes alongside it. They don't do their resistance training alongside it, etc. So, for me, I would worry that, if people are listening and thinking, oh, well, that's why you had such a success. It had success because of your medical challenges. However, you also changed your lifestyle significantly, which is the biggest difference I think we're seeing across the UK.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle significance. It significantly made a difference. The lifestyle changes and mindset. I cannot emphasize mindset enough. You know, you've got to get your head right. And yeah, so again, it's the culmination of it all coming together. And you know, Monjaro is not a quick fix. Having been on it, it doesn't do the work for you. It really doesn't. It just supports the exercise and good nutrition. And I know that because, especially with the nutrition, because I had an occasion where I had a day of really, really poor nutrition. I had Chinese takeaway, and because my body's not used to, I just wasn't used to eating that kind of stuff anymore. So it's probably a mixture of that as well. And I was very ill, very ill. So you know, you do have to do, you've got to do the work alongside it.
100%. Like you say, mindset has a lot to answer for.
Yes, because I did actually say at one point to someone a friend who was taking it, this is how powerful your mind is. When I had that first injection of Monjaro, if it had been a placebo in it, I still would have thought it was working, because it's medicine, and that works.
Yeah.
It still would have. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah.
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 Because,
for sure.
Because it's
your
mindset. Yeah.
It is. It's all mindset, and I think that's it, isn't it? And you know, especially as we've been talking about in other parts of this conversation. So I think that's been the biggest thing. It's just been an enhancement of your journey. So yeah, I'm glad we've touched on that.
In case I forget, I never I've never ever deprived myself with eating. Which sounds terrible, but
no.
I've got to tell you this, because I spent years beating myself up if I had chocolate, or if I had some sweets, because that's bad. You mustn't do that. Oh my God, that's why you don't lose weight. But I can tell you, I've lost nearly 6 stone. Over 2 years, and every single day I have eaten I've had some chocolate or some something sweet, normally in the afternoon around 3 o'clock, every single day. Not loads, but whatever.
A bit of chocolate.
I want. And I've still managed to lose nearly 6 stone. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's exactly it. You know, all of those things that you're told for years, like, oh, well, you shouldn't have that, and Slimming World telling you should only have a banana if it's mashed up or not mashed up or whatever it is. I can't even know. So to know that actually you've done all of this whilst you haven't been restricted is incredible, and you've had a little bit of chocolate, and fair play. I mean, life without a bit of chocolate is no life.
Not chocolate. That's I don't want to do that. And but at the same time, I don't want to feel guilty if I have some chocolate. So what?
Yeah.
You know, it's and I think I've said this to you before. Food is food, and it's taken me all of my adult life to get my head around that. Food is food.
Food.
Yeah. It's
there's
just
no
food.
There's no good food. There's no bad food. There's higher calorie food and there's lower calorie food. There's more nutrient dense food. There's less nutrient dense food, but it's all just food.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best when you feel like that, you know, it's the best. And I've loved seeing that with you. And actually that takes us to a really nice point around tracking, and also around takeaways and things like that, because obviously we were tracking food and looking at your calories. And one of our big goals and big sort of things we wanted to do was to get you in a position where you didn't need to track your food anymore, and you didn't need to that because you understood your macronutrients, you understood your fiber, you understood your micronutrients. And I do remember us having a conversation once where you sort of said, I don't think I'll ever be able to live my life without tracking. And I was like, yeah, we are
Did I say
definitely
that?
going to get to a place. Yeah. And I was like, we're definitely going to take it away. And one of those, because we're so used to having those things that monitor us, and we don't trust ourselves in that process. And of course, you haven't tracked food for a really long time now.
No, I haven't. Although I did track a couple of days a few weeks ago, only because I wasn't seeing any more progress on the scales. But you know, I mean, when you get to nearly 6 stone, you're not gonna. I don't really think I need to lose much more weight. So that was more just a kind of vanity thing. I wanted to get to the 6 stone goal. But something it's interesting tracking, because the thought of not tracking, horrifying. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can never do that. Or and then likewise, do I want to track everything I eat for the rest of my life? No, that's no way to live either. So I've kind of reached a point where I've come to understand that it doesn't have to be forever. Either one doesn't have to be forever. You don't if I want to track a couple of days or something, I do. And most of the time I don't. And so it doesn't mean I never going to track ever again, or I've got to track forever. It's just whatever I feel like, and that's okay too. But it is great to not have that obsession almost of tracking. Like I can remember, like in the early days of things like Weight Watchers and Slimming World, and going out for what should have been like a fun lunch with my husband, like with my boyfriend at the time, and this I'm going back like 20. We've been married 20 years. But before, and even now, up until I started One Life, the sort of like I couldn't just spontaneously go to a restaurant because I don't know how many points are in that, or oh god, and it just becomes this kind of horrible kind of way to live, and to not have to do that now, it's just so freeing. I just go wherever I want, have a nice time, eat what I want, and not think about food all the time, because I used to do that. I used to think about food all the time.
The food.
So it's nice to be free of that.
I was going to ask you that, because as you were saying that before you said the word free, that's what I wanted to say to you. That's the biggest thing now I really hope you feel from the 2 years. I hope you've got this gorgeous sense of freedom from the scales, from tracking.
And it's so, I don't even really know how to explain this, but now that I don't think about food all the time, and I feel free of that horrible cycle, and I kind of do eat what I want, and I'm kind of obviously mindful. I don't, overeat like I used to, but now I've freed myself of it. It's not, I don't think about it all the time. It's really hard to explain, because I think when you're in that diet mentality, which I know a lot of us get into, and you can't have this, can't have that, got to track this, how much is that, oh no, I can't have that, it's got too many sins in it, and Slimming World and all the rest of it, it's all you think about. But once you stop doing that, you don't think about it all the time. So I feel like I've got myself back to like a new normal, like I was before I had that thyroidectomy. I never thought about food. I just ate what I wanted, and it's like it feels like normal, in inverted commas, normal way to be. I mean, my children don't think about food all the time. They just eat when they're hungry or eat what they want within reason. Obviously, I don't let them eat a load of crap, but you know.
No.
Um,
Yeah, but I think that's exactly it. The 90s and noughties, just the diet culture, the magazines, the films, what was fat, what was skinny, all of these words and all these diet clubs and new diets and everything. It made us obsessed because it was everywhere. And that's how could you not think about it when you're turning on the TV and in between, programs, there was, a new workout DVD being released or whatever it was, there's all of that stuff. So, I am so pleased that you are out the other side of all of that, and because there'll be a lot of women listening to this who probably never think they're going to be free of that. I mean, what would you say to those women who are still kind of thinking, well, that I would love that, but it won't be me?
That was me 2 years ago. I was that, I've tried everything, and I was really cynical. I thought, oh, yeah, well, is it going to work? It won't work for me. I'll be the only person in the world it doesn't work for. I was that person, but it comes from, I feel, I'm like being flippant about it, but I look back at how I was then, and I feel sorry that I was like that. It's not a nice way to be, and but it's almost like it's not your fault though, because you've got that influence that you just talked about. It's so powerful, and that's just the way our society is. There's a lot of like idealistic kind of way to be, especially now like with social media. It's so influential, and I think it kind of works on that insecurity, and and so it's just always comes back to the mindset, shifting that mindset. But I was that woman, worried it wouldn't work because nothing else had worked. But I would say to anyone who's thinking, I want to do that, but will it work? Is just try it like I did with that first workout. Make that phone call, have the conversation, do the first workout. What have you got to lose? That's if I could go back now and tell myself that, it would be to do it, no matter how much you hate it.
Yeah. Because now you love it. I think, and it was only recently we had a bit of an issue with your workouts loading, just a tech thing, and you're like, Holes, where are my workouts? I'm ready. I'm going to do my workout. Like if you miss a workout now, that's a bad moment in your day. You look forward to them. You like doing them. They make you feel good. And it's just a complete shift.
Yeah, totally. I schedule it as an appointment in my diary with a reminder so that my phone will remind me. I schedule it because it's I'm so busy with work and my children and all the rest of it. So I literally schedule it. There's 3 workouts a week, and that's really worked for me. It's a routine, and I find routine habit works well. Just keep on doing it, over and over, and to get to the goal that you want. And that it's just that repetitive process. Just
talking about repetitive process. Book them in, get them in your diary, and then they're there, right? Like that's what is the only way. I have to do that as well, otherwise I wouldn't do them. But the one thing about that and the routine is obviously we change up your workouts every now and then, every 2-3 months, whatever, depending on your program and what your goals are. And every time, and this is quite a common thing for a lot of women, every time it's like a new program, it's like that whole, there's new workouts in there, there's new things. I don't know whether I'll be able to do that. Can't do that. And I remember that was one of the funniest things we've had, because obviously to be honest, you have had a former injury, and there is that confidence that needs to be rebuilt in your body and in your hips. And there was a particular program that we did around strengthening your hips with some unilateral work for your knees and things. You have come leaps and bounds with your strength in your hips, especially when we started to do step ups and, other things. That must be lovely for you, knowing that actually you persevered with that rather than ran away with fear on that stuff too.
Yeah, because and each time you changed my program, I had a moment of that feeling I had when I did my very first workout. It's almost like a default thing. I can't do it. It's going to be too hard. Oh, she's making me do something I can't do. But I also have a real stubborn side as well, and it's quite satisfying. I am going to do this. With the fractured hip injury, that should never have happened. It was a medical negligence, and which that's a whole other story. It's quite satisfying to not let that define who I am now. So there was a kind of amount of stubbornness as well. So kind of the mixture of I can't do it, and then do you know what, I am going to do this. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to make sure I can do that, because it's like I've overcome that then. So I kind of
and that builds up.
I go into it that. Sorry,
it builds up your bank of evidence. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a lag, but I mean that builds up your bank of evidence of I can. And every time you do that, it just goes in that little box of all the things that you have done, and ultimately that is how you build confidence, and ultimately that's how you build your motivation. And I do love that side of you, because I know as your coach now, and I probably knew this about 4 months in, I'm just gonna, and I think at the start I was like, oh yeah, no, that's okay, we can change things around. But actually now I'm like, right, go on, go get it done. You're like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go and get it done. And then I get that message of, oh, actually it was great, really enjoyed it. It's all done. Alex, there's one moment, right? There is a downside to all of this, of course, isn't there? In the sense that it's not just the investment of coaching, it's the investment in a new wardrobe. And of course, the funniest moment for me, I think, I say it's funny. It was obviously a bit of a bit of a niggle, shall we say, as part of it. But when you text me saying you've got an injury, and the first thing I think, I panic. What have we done in our workouts? What could have happened? And of course, you didn't get an injury from your workout. You actually pulled your back by shoving on a new pair.
What happened was it was one of my mini milestones with the weight loss and the changing my physiology and my body shape, was to wear jeans that fitted, because when I was bigger, that I couldn't really wear jeans. It was difficult to find jeans that looked okay, or so I thought. So so I put my back out trying to get some jeans on. I could get them on, but I had to lay on the bed to do the zip up. And then of course I was struggling to stand up because I could barely breathe, but I'd got these blooming jeans on, and was real chuffed about that. Now I have to tell you, those jeans I have now sold on Vinted because they're hanging off me. And that was another progress marker. Talking of my wardrobe, I've had an experience with that. I have sold my entire wardrobe, mostly on Vinted, and then as I went through the stages of weight loss and body shape changing, I replaced my wardrobe with things mostly from Vinted, because it's a great way to buy interim clothes. And also I bought a couple of things and I thought, I'm just going to try it. I wonder if I could, get into a size 14 jean. So I bought some on vintage, and they fitted, and now I've sold them and got the 12, and I've got them, and I bought some jeans just last week in a 8, M&S 8, and I can. They fit. They're a little snug, but they do fit. So
That's
I
incredible.
I know, coming from a size 18, I think, if I'm truthful at the start, 18, sometimes 20, I never ever envisaged being able to comfortably wear size 10 and size 8. It's just life changing, completely life
Absolutely
changing.
incredible. It just makes me so proud because, and we've had, conversations about this over and over. It will never ever get old. Just your journey, your story, and everything about it is just, like I say, so inspiring for so many people. You've just locked in. One of my favorite things that I see you do now, which I've messaged you a couple of times about because I love it on Instagram when I'm having a scroll at night. And then the next thing you've put up a selfie or you're somewhere looking absolutely fabulous. And when I first met you, I never saw you post any photos of yourself, not your
Yeah,
face,
no,
not your
rarely
body,
did that. Yeah. Rarely did it.
And
I
this
would
is
try and avoid doing that, and avoid, because obviously I go to a lot of events, and as an author, and I'd always try and avoid, photos at events because I didn't like the way I looked. And I have to say, and this is not great, but in the past there have been opportunities, interviews, where I've not done them because I couldn't bear the thought of being on TV or whatever, or being filmed. So
that's huge.
so that's completely transformed for me. I feel confident to be able to do that now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's one of the questions that I was going to come to actually is how would you say that this has impacted your wider world? Because I think people think that health and fitness is just a very internal thing, which it is, but actually we talk about your book deals, we talk about your next opportunities with work, we talk about
Yeah.
bigger things, and I wonder how much of an impact you think this has had on your wider world of Alex Brown.
It's completely changed every aspect of my life. In my career, I feel more confident. Um, I have more self-worth. I won't accept like bad behavior, not just in my career but in all areas of my life. I just value myself more and don't put up with being treated um, inadequately. I don't really know how to explain that, but I just it just transformed things, and I see it. And this might sound odd, but I see it in my writing as well. I feel more confident in my writing. I feel, I'm looking forward to those events, and I've now got this kind of like a passion for like fashion and like style, and I just love like I used to have long hair which I had always wore in a ponytail, so I've had that cut short.
Yeah.
I love looking at like following like fashion and stylists on Instagram, and trying out different outfits, and thinking, if I've got an event coming up, and feeling excited about what I'm going to wear, um, and feeling good in what I wear, and not like, oh God, what am I going to wear? Well, that might look okay, is how I used to feel. Um, so that's all changed. It's completely, it's just life changing completely.
Makes me very happy, very, very happy to the core. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It's been an absolute honour, such a pleasure working with you, seeing you really tackle those things. The journey you've been on isn't easy. You know, we're sort of sat at the end of 2 years, and where you were at the start and the mindset scramble that lots of women are in, it does take a while to unpick. And you've put the work in, you've put the graft in, you've shown up, you've told me when you're feeling a certain way about things, and that having that open conversation, being honest, laying that all out on the table has led you to this whole new chapter of your life. And I couldn't be more proud, really, and honoured to have done that with you. You've been a massive part of our community, and I guess the thing that I'd love to wrap this conversation up on is if you could say what your biggest lesson or learning has been in the 2 years that you could pass on to another female who's feeling as you did 2 years ago, what would that be?
It would be trust the process.
Good one.
Trust the process. Make the most of it. Just do it for yourself. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's a huge investment. But if you can find a way to do it for yourself, because you and fully invest in it, fully commit to it, and just trust that it will work if you do it. If you do what Holly tells you,
which you always did.
Yeah.
Good advice. I like it, and it works for me as well. So this is excellent. Alex, there's so much we could talk about. I mean, we could probably do a part 2 and a part 3 of this conversation. There's so many things we haven't touched on, but we'll leave it there for today. I just want to thank you for giving your time and sharing that, because as I say, it really is inspirational what you have been through, and I know that this journey is going to continue in so many different ways for you, not of course the fat loss side of things, but in terms of, you know, really using that confidence and that sparkle that you are now living with for the rest of your life. So any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I think we've covered everything. I mean, we should do a part 2 to see how things progress. But other than thank you, a million thank yous, because it was a lucky day for me when I first saw you on Instagram and started stalking you. It's life-changing. I know I keep on saying that, and but yeah, thank you. It's just, you've made such a difference. Honestly, truly made a difference. And I know that you always say, "Oh, you've done the work. You're doing this and everything." But I honestly couldn't have done it without you, without your support and your feedback and holding me accountable. That's what made the difference, and that's why it worked. And when all those other things I did until I found you didn't work, that's the difference.
Yeah, it's that holding hands, that hug just to say it's okay on those days where you want to throw the towel in. I'm not letting you.
And a feeling that you get it. I'm just going to add this, because I think that is also what makes a difference. Is that, you know, I've done personal training in the past with personal trainers who I didn't really feel got it. Really understood the medical challenges that I had, and you do get it. So nothing else to say.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, and it's lovely to hear. This is why I wake up in the morning, and I think having these conversations and reflections at the end of journeys is really special for me, as much as it is for you. So Thank you. And everyone else, thank you for listening to another one of our gorgeous women who have kind of come to not the end of their journey, but flying the nest of one life and willing to share their story. So this will be on YouTube as well, and you can find other episodes of How to Live Your Best One Life on Spotify and on YouTube. But for now, thank you for listening. And Alex, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.